Dude, I know you're excited, but you're gonna have to quell the raging boner, dude.
I'm sorry, I'm trying not to knock over any of my fine china here.
You're fine china, you just tipped over your Xbox.
Sit on my futon here. My deteriorating and piece of shit futon.
You're gonna new one.
Yeah,
I'll pay for the new one.
Later on. Yeah, fret not, ladies and gentlemen. We are not playing the PlayStation version of Final Fantasy VI. I figured I added the Final Fantasy VI intro, though, to make things a little more cinematic. You know, it didn't stop us from having the Final Fantasy IV intro when we did Final Fantasy IV. It's been 2 years at this point, I believe.
Yeah, still one of my favorite Let's Plays we've ever done.
It's one of my... I always look forward to revisiting the RPG stuff, honestly. Because I just love the conversations and how we just shoot this shit more often than we usually do.
Right, and we get to appreciate some of the finer gems.
Yes, we do.
Speaking of finer gems, this was a gem I have to confess I did not like at first.
Yeah.
But the more I played it, the more I started to appreciate it. More so with the advanced version. But, like I said, this game actually grew on me more and more, like, the more I played it. Like, it just went over my head at first, then there's, like, the fine little nuances and stuff that really start appealing the more the game goes on.
I remember...
Is that Kefka before the,
No, that was Edgar.
Oh, that's Edgar.
I remember...
Oh, I'm sorry. You know what it is? I'm seeing Terra, but then I'm seeing a different throne room. I'm thinking it's the same throne room. My bad.
We can get into the art style in a second here, but I remember that when we first met in high school, you know, we talked all about Final Fantasy IX front and back because we loved that game so much. So then I started talking about other Final Fantasies to see how much you actually played from older series, and you said you mentioned 6, but you said you never had really interest in it, and then I told you. You know, 6 is one.
And you told me to go fuck myself.
Yeah, I was like, suck it. I don't want to be friends with you anymore. So I told you that, you know, I would give it a shot because 6 is actually one of my favorite games in the series. And then, like you said, at first you were indifferent to it, didn't really find interest in it.
Right. Honestly, when you lent me your copy, I was playing 5 more.
Did I get that? Did I loan you my anthologies?
Yeah, it was anthology. That's how I played 5 and 6. And let me tell you, that's how I fell in love with 5.
Oh, Lord. But, yeah, folks, this is Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo. Oh, but now you can get it in a lot of other things. You can get it on the Super Nintendo Virtual Console. There's a version on the PlayStation, which I only recommend if you don't have any other option, because
if you have no other options, you go for the iOS version.
Yeah, there's that version, too, which is
There's
fine.
also the version you can play on your egg timer.
There's the iOS version is fine. You know, sound quality is great and all that. It has all the Final Fantasy VI Advanced extras. That's any consolation. I just don't like the sprite work for like overworld sprites and the battle sprites. It's just that it looks so muddy, not as pristine as Final Fantasy IV on the PSP, which I was so hoping would happen for 5 and 6, but alas, it was never a thing.
So meanwhile, you are sent off to war commanded by a clown.
The clown works for a bunny man.
This makes sense.
Hear me out. Hear me out.
I imagine somebody getting pitched this game and just with their hands folded like,
genius. But let's release it late into the SNES's life cycle. That way, by the time people will be too busy raging over this stupid ass concept, we're making Final Fantasy VII on the PlayStation 1. But yeah, this is Final Fantasy VI.
Hey, that's the kick off to Dancing Mad.
Yeah.
Or Laughing Mad, sorry.
Yeah. Well, the name of this soundtrack, the name of this piece of the song in the soundtrack is called Omen.
Right.
It always begins with this, and then it goes into this lovely little piano piece that'll go into the main theme of Final Fantasy VI. So yeah, I'm also editing in the Final Fantasy VI logo because for those who played this game since '94, which I have been,
you guys with the boner there.
You guys know this. The more I talk, the more the boner quells. So I got to keep my pace going. Americans know this as Final Fantasy III on the Super Nintendo. For reasons that we went into Final Fantasy IV, but I'll explain it again here. We got Final Fantasy I as Japan got Final Fantasy I. They got Final Fantasies 2 and 3, the originals on the NES. We didn't. So when we got Final Fantasy IV, obviously the last Final Fantasy game was 1 on the NES, so to go from 1 to 4 would probably be confusing for consumers, so they relabeled it as 2. The same goes for Final Fantasy V. We, Americans, initially didn't get that game because it was considered too hard for us.
2 was stupid, 3 was a bit more challenging, but for the wrong reasons.
So, we got Final Fantasy VI, though, but obviously you can't call it 6. You can't go from 1-2 to 6. You can't go from 1-4 to 6 either. So they relabeled it as Final Fantasy III.
Which makes you wonder if they eventually release Half-Life 3, it'll be Half-Life 4.
Yeah, you guys thought you had problems with Half-Life 3 and shit. Ugh. I'd imagine just keeping up with Final Fantasy in terms of
chronology
and numbers was a pain in the ass. And you know what? I think Nintendo Power wasn't helping at that point.
Yeah.
Because when it was in their preview magazines, I think they initially labeled it as 6 and not 3. And it was like, wait, what the fuck? It's like, I just finished playing 2 on my Super Nintendo.
Excuse me, Nintendo Power, who's Bart's? Butts? Bart. Bart? Bart?
Yeah, you said butts.
Anyway, so the story begins here, basically. There was a great war once upon a time called the War of the Magi, which completely eradicated and blew up the fucking land. However, now magic is pretty much non-existent. There are forces that are out there to revive the power known as magic. Yeah. And here we are with 3 people in giant mechs.
Yeah, there was one point or another where civilization prospered until the War of the Red. Yeah, I'll get into that in a second.
Wait, who the fuck's Vix? Where's Biggs?
Biggs didn't come until after the retranslations, but yes, that's obviously who these 2 characters are based off of.
So, Biggs and Wedge, 2 things you don't want to find in your underwear.
Yeah, I want to say 6 was the first to have the Biggs and Wedge. Shout-outs, obviously from Star Wars. Yeah, so Civilization at one point prospered. Then the War of the Magi happened and wiped it out pretty much. Because if you read the text intro carefully, it actually says that steam power technology was rediscovered.
Right.
So that must have been one hell of a war.
Steampunk technology. Come to think of it, steampunk seems to be more of the overall aesthetics with Final Fantasy VI. Mind you, this was also the first with it. In other words, up to Final Fantasy VI, they've all been pretty much knights and knaves. Well, 4 had that giant Babel stuff, but they're ultimately taking your pointy stick and going doink, doink, doink. No.
I would say we would see shades of it in 5 first.
No. We saw shades of it before. That was like hybrid, cyber. No,
but that's more cybernetic.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say outright steampunk. 5, I thought, was more of the transition to steampunk, but not entirely sure. By steampunk, I mean like the boat, the ship, and that place that we go up to in the sky. That I think where we get our airship for the first time.
Yeah.
That's steampunk. Completely.
This one here is right. This here's first where Final Fantasy started to marry with technology a bit more in terms of their story and their overall feel. By the way, this is Terra's theme that's playing right now. It's a pretty great track.
There's a lot of variations of this theme that is considered Terra's theme.
One of my personal favorite Terra theme variations is Dissidia, just because of the gentle melody that it overlays with the hard pound, like there's a big weight on the step. I love
Only
that
critique about the Dissidia version is that it loops too fast.
It
leaves out the second part of the song.
That it does, but small tragedy. It's the same thing with Dancing Man and Dissidia.
Yeah.
Oh, 16 minutes worth? Why am I only getting the first bit?
But people only like the last part. That's bullshit.
So in the meanwhile, something's all fire in the distance.
Yeah.
Or your game copy's flickering out.
So let's go into the story right now, what's going on. The Empire, that's who we work for, has gotten reports of a frozen Esper in the town of Narsh.
What's an Esper?
An Esper is a magical creature, Matt.
Ah, summons.
Yes, there you go. That's this game's summons.
It's usually the Final Fantasy tradition to go with that or Eidolon.
So we are being sent to investigate the frozen Esper. Unfortunately,
with giant fucking battle mechs?
Yeah, okay, because we're the Empire. Anyway, first thing I'm doing right now is I'm switching all the characters to the back row, setting battle mode to active and battle speed to 1. Fun fact, battle speed only affects the speed of enemies, not you. So if you set it to 6, enemies will move a little slower while your ATB does not change at all. So if you want to ease your game for yourself, you can set active time to wait and put battle speed to 6. I am setting it to active and 1 because I played this game too many times and I can get away with it.
That, quite frankly, what would be the point?
Yeah. And a reason why I'm putting characters in back row is because Magitech attacks ignore rows.
They're all long range.
Yes, so it doesn't matter. You're doing yourself a favor by putting everyone in the back row. And for those Final Fantasy or RPG newbies, when you're in the back row, physical attacks do less damage to you, unless they're long range, in which case it doesn't matter.
Now, Terra's got additional attacks as opposed to what Biggs and Wedge have. Vix and Wedge ultimately have 3 elemental beams and I think healing force.
Yes.
But Terra also has like a few confusion, poison, and 2 other attacks.
I don't know how to classify Exfer, but I do show off all the Magitech. One thing that I never really got in this game, and I've been questioning this since I first played it, is why does Terra have access to all the Magitech arsenal?
Probably because Vix and Wedge are inexperienced.
No, I would say they have more experience because we're going into Terra's backstory here a bit. She just recently got into the Empire, and she was raised by the Empire, of course. But I always got the idea that she really didn't start getting into the Magitech soldiers ranks until really late into
Kefka
the
initiated the
Yeah, this is Esper, pretty much an instant kill to enemies that are susceptible to death. If they're not, I don't think it works. But kind of a gruesome kind of death. You don't even know what the hell happens to it. But yeah, Terra is going to be the main star for this battle. In fact, she's such a MVP for this. You can get away, and I think I did this during the Brain Scratch run. You can kill Biggs and Wedge so that she gets all the experience.
You may as well. You're in a fucking battle mech.
Yeah, but Terra also has access to magic too. Pointless at this point in time because the Magitech will be more than enough. So there's really no point unless you just want to show it off. But yeah, you got the 3 beams, fire, ice, bolts, pretty much the same thing, only except different elementals. Heal Force heals a lot for a single target. And now we got some actually, it is very possible to avoid these battles if you stand on the right tile as while you're going upwards. It only checks for the center tiles. So if you veer left or right before you enter that little hallway, you'll ignore the battles entirely.
Now, in defense or attack, you're likely to get hit from both sides. Now, if your character is not facing the enemy in question, you're just going to get hit twice as hard.
Yes. And because you're in a pincer attack, you're thinking you can't run away. You can.
You can, but there can't be any enemies on the side you're running from.
Clear one side and you'll be fine. 6 is the first game to introduce different battle formations. Before then, we had the previous, battle from while facing left and back attacks while facing right.
And first strike.
Preemptives, yeah. Ambushes. 6 introduces pincers and side attacks, which we'll see more of later down the road. Yeah, but so we're looking for the frozen Esper. Unfortunately, it's in the town of Narsh, and Narsh...
Let's burn it all down!
Yeah. Oh, no, it's more like Narsh is a stubbornly independent town.
Stubbornly independent town. Yeah, how dare we fucking have our freedom?
We're the Empire. We have to show them just how much we mean business. By giving them a bioblast. This is
I'm pretty sure Terra just ripped a big eggy fart.
No, the Magitech ripped a big meaty fart from the chest. I think she may have a condition.
God damn. That or it's just exhaust.
Yeah. That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, Bioblast is an all-encompassing poison attack. It also does a lot of physical damage, too.
It's physical? I thought it would have just been poison elemental, which was usually good against human.
If it's poison elemental, I would say it's poison elemental, but it's like really powerful poison elemental.
Well, that's more so because poison is usually good against life forms.
I don't know what the only thing I don't know in terms of what Magitech attacks look for is what stats is it based off of? Is it physical or magical?
I don't think that's really relevant.
No. It's just a curiosity sort of thing. I like to look up that kind of stuff, just so I can get the idea of how this and this works. Because I'm gonna give you guys a lot of trivia to the best of my knowledge. But if you guys know anything that I don't, feel free to drop it in the comments. I'm always learning something new about this game. That majestic little sparkly thing that we just blatantly ignored as a save point.
Right.
So save your game there if you need to. I like to get a move on, so.
Johnny has shit to do.
I really do, because I just recorded this last week. In the middle of the night. It was really spur of the moment. Like, it was 11 o'clock. I just finished editing up the SGB's parts for the week. And I wasn't starting on the Shovel Knight review just yet. And I figured, I got 2 hours to kill. It's like, let me start recording 6.
I have to confess, I really don't like the boss battle theme.
Really?
I'm just not a fan of it. Like, the beginning of it's just like an assault on the ears, which I don't like. But after that initial assault, it's alright.
Yeah.
It's just not to my liking. I don't like the boss battle theme here. But
Okay.
that's just me.
That's fine. Yeah, 6 is one of my to me is one of the better soundtracks. Not my favorite. 7 I think trumps it.
I think my favorite Final Fantasy style track teeters either between 7, 9, or when they do it right. Actually, 7, 9, 10, and 12 does good music.
8 soundtrack.
8. That's right. That's my favorite one. Yeah, 8 for all it fucked up on has an amazing.
Yeah, I was just like, I'll knock 8 a lot of times for a lot of things, but you won't hear me ever bitch about its soundtrack. I love that music. But alright, this is our first boss in quotes.
It's Welk.
Yeah, this is Welk, renamed Weimer in the advanced version. YMIR. So yeah, pretty much a tutorial.
YMR, like worm.
YMIR. Is that pronounced worm?
Why what?
Ymir. That's how.
Oh,
it's-
Ymir.
Ymir. There you go. That's what it's called in the advanced translation.
Look,
So.
look, this thing would make such a dominating appearance to this game. If you were to play Final Fantasy 10, you would recognize this as Nestslug.
Yes. That is actually a boss in the advanced version of this game.
Nestslug?
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I'm pretty sure it is. But anyway, let's go into battle strategies here, even though there's not much to talk about. Ymir is a slug inside a shell. You have to attack the head. Once it retracts inside the shell, which I'm going to show off here, if you attack the shell, it counters with Megavolt.
Is that high damage naturally, or is that just because you're in mech?
It's high damage naturally.
Alright.
It's your punishment for attacking the shell, even when they blatantly tell you, do not attack the shell when it's inside the shell. Even though I think it will counter with Megavolt even when it's out of the shell and you still attack it, because Welk is considered 2 targets. But you're waiting for the head to poke out, give it a few tech missiles. That's going to be your best sort of killer here. If you're really good without abusing the ATB system, you can 2-cycle this thing. I did test play. No, you can 2-cycle the head, so that you don't have to keep waiting for the head to keep poking out. It is very possible by manipulating the ATB system to 1-cycle it, because there is a gauge that builds up in Final Fantasy VI for enemies that only fills up when you are actively like pointing at the enemy, selecting a target. If you're in the menu or choosing magic, it pauses. So if you're able to manipulate that, you can destroy Welk before he even gets inside the shell.
You can.
Yeah.
Huh.
Anyway, here's it. This is our frozen Esper, which according to the game is named Tritok because, fuck it, whatever.
Tri-torch. I think because later when you spoiler fight it, it has 3 elements of fire, ice, and lightning, so they went with 3 elementals like that.
Yeah. I'm just more talking about how the gameplay is telling us a name that we shouldn't technically know yet.
What is its real name? Valamugandar or something? It.
Yeah. Yeah, obviously, we can comment on name changes for those that I remember anyway, because Final Fantasy VI really pushed the SNES to its limits.
I thought you ended the part there, I'm sorry.
No. It really pushed the SNES to its limits, but unfortunately, character limitations were in full effect here, so they had to rename a lot of things.
Oh, son of a submariner.
Yeah. Hey, don't knock Ted Woolsey's translation, man.
I know, in fact, some of them was fucking charming.
Yeah. Ted Woolsey was in charge of translating the game, and he's responsible for making things the way they are and how iconic they are. Like, you can thank him for making Kefka as quotable as he is in here as he is ever. Because if we're going into like differences in like Japanese and American translations, Kefka was just kind of a generic psychopath in Japan, and in America I'm
pretty sure which is Spanish for Joker.
In some languages, I'm called this.
A mysterious young woman controlled by the Empire. Her name?
Terra. So you're probably asking,
be one of the protagonists of Birth by Sleep. A fool that was manipulated into doing bad things.
Tell me more. Does she have a slave crown too?
Does Terra have a slave crown?
Yes.
No, he just has a firm grasp on the dum-dum ball.
It's so wonderful. So yeah, as you can see, Terra was not acting entirely on her own accord. She's being manipulated with a slave crown. And this old man saved us. I'm guessing, well, maybe he just found us after a cave expedition. Because the girl, Terra, as we now know her name is, had a strange reaction upon looking at the frozen Esper.
Right.
We lost our Magitech armor, too.
Crap.
But the guys outside don't know that. They just think we still have it.
Well, to be honest, you can't really blame them. I mean, when you're fighting somebody with a giant rampaging death armor, I highly doubt you're looking at the headwear.
Absolutely. The townspeople's anger is completely justified.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Quick, run out the back door.
Quick fact. Once you exit that building, there is actually a pair of sprint shoes that are located on a tile right of that passageway. Unfortunately, because the pathway ends there, you can't ever get it.
Really?
It's just one of those tidbits that you find out when looking up research for this game. And that's going to happen more than once.
Vapor right.
New enemies.
Terra, do you have it in you to beat up a ball of gas?
I don't know. I can seem to hit it with my sword. So, for the next hour, I would say, folks, of gameplay, enemies are really not going to be anything spectacular.
They can't be. It's not fair at this point.
It's the beginning of the game. So, really, all you got to worry about is just hitting it with your sword and Terra's fire spell, which she has access to at any point, as long as you got the magic points. It really does more than enough to eliminate the threats.
By the way, I heard there was a hidden mechanic in Narsh I'm not sure if it's this cave or somewhere else, where basically if you don't open the chests now, they become better items later in the game.
Absolutely, you're right, and I will show that off. It's not exclusive to Nash, though. It's exclusive to a lot of places.
I kind of like how you just sort of murdered what could be an innocent repo man.
Well, are you kidding me? Come on, green coat, hunched over. He threw a wrench at me.
Good point. He could have been a creeper.
Yeah, with a wrench.
You got a sleeping bag?
Well, there's very interesting creepers in this vicinity.
A wrench hurts, dude.
Yeah, I know, but it's not every day a creeper throws a wrench at you. Most of the time, they just grab you in the standard female grab area. By that, I mean a chokehold.
Whatchamacallit? Why'd you remove your mithril shield?
Why did I remove mithril shield? Because someone might need it.
Oh.
And because I played this game and I have the hindsight.
Smart move.
Yeah, I do that a lot when I can get away with it. Oh, so it didn't take very long for the soldiers to find us. Granted, we don't know where the hell we're going because we'd never been here before. So we fall through a convenient trap hole, and Terra decides to grow unconscious because, well, she did land on her legs pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a flashback. It's kind of a weird time to have one, but...
This is Kefka. Long story short, the Kefka here was a renowned tactician and general amongst the Empire's ranks up until he volunteered himself first for the Magitech
Infusing.
Magitech Infusion, thank you.
Yeah.
Basically, when that happened, Kefka's mind went... And he went batshit nuts.
You like breadsticks? Imagine one snapping in half.
The mind bends and twists in order to deal with the horrors of reality. Kefka just said fuck it and just snapped his in two. Every time he laughs like that, I can't help but think he's got his tongue out.
It's also like two scenes of the exact same thing. You know, you got this scene where he establishes like, well, you might be too pretty. I put this crown on you and I'll practically own you. Then he turns to the camera and laughs. The next scene is Terra burning 50 soldiers with her Magitech armor and it's like, hee, yeah, laughs at the camera. What was the name of the voice actor in this video that voiced Kefka?
Ah,
I don't remember his name, but he did a really good job.
not Dave Wittenberg.
David Hayter. No, I'm kidding.
Ah, damn it, the name is on the tip of my tongue. I was just looking it up last night, too.
Alright, so we got a little bit of flashback there. You can see Terra in her Empire days while everyone salutes by giving them the chop.
Shigeru Chiba.
Is that
I was right, Dave Wittenberg.
Dave Wittenberg? There you go. I thought he made a pretty good Kefka.
He made a decent Kefka.
Anyway, we got a new character.
What an image to welcome yourself into.
It's like he just got caught in the shower.
He looked like he peeped in on his mom.
Unintentionally, hopefully.
Unintentionally, of course.
You may be wondering, why the hell am I putting everything in low caps?
Because it seems weird if you're going to have them all in uppercase, Daves, because they're going to look like you're screaming at them.
Yeah, 6
Hey,
is...
lock!
6 is the only game, I think, that has the names in all caps.
Which would make sense, because at least you do this, you know, you can convince yourself you're actually sneaking around when you're trying to do that. Alright, we have to be careful here, alright? I'm going to sneak around the back. Lock! You alright?
Dude! Great idea. Shut up! It was also a recurring gag we had in the Brain Scratch Road. Is like, I left the names alone. So every time we saw it in fucking all caps, we shouted the name. But I decided to keep things a little modest here. This is also going to be a much more thorough playthrough than the Brain Scratch one, which is actually the first RPG we ever did in that channel.
I think it's the only one you ever done for that channel. No, there's Paper Mario.
Paper Mario.
Just get a bit.
And now we gotta.
I can't wait for your 9 playthrough.
Yeah, we're getting started on 9 later this year.
I can't wait for that.
I can't wait for that either.
Now we gotcha.
I'm gonna get you.
And now this dude commands wolf people. So what? Is he a Beastmaster?
Fuck yeah. So we gotta protect Terra. Luckily, we have help in the form of Mogals.
Or are they just picking my pockets?
Yeah.
Like one's willing to help me, the other's just sort of ready to pick loot and run.
Food! No! I need to protect her. So now we have 3 formations that we can switch upon for the sake of protecting Terra. And we got a lot of Moogles by our side, and that's why I unequipped the buckler to give it to Locke for this battle sequence.
In Final Fantasy IX, were these some of the names of the Moogles that Ico had?
If they, well, no, because in Final Fantasy VI they emphasize the language when naming the Moogles. Notice how everything begins with Ku.
Yeah.
Cuckoo, Kutan, Kupan, almost like you're speaking
But why
Klingon.
Mog? Why is he stand
Except
out?
Mog. Mog just sticks out. which means he may be important later on. And
Or he was just abandoned.
Yeah, or you notice there the prompt that said that we mastered a new dance. What the hell does that mean?
Fuck yeah, the two-step.
Yeah. Everybody do the truffle shuffle with me, guys. We'll confuse the enemies. Trust me. Yeah, so Mog is unique among the Moogles is that he can dance.
That's kind of an odd thing to stick out for.
You know, spoiler warning, we're going to recruit Mog later down the road, like pretty later on down the road. And he can learn dances based off the environment that you battle in. Since we were battling in the caves, we learned Dusk Requiem.
Right. Which is basically...
You can attack with rocks.
Oh.
And you also have Snare, which is instant death to enemies that are susceptible to it. But this is pretty much the name of the game, folks. You're switching between three formations to battle all the Volmammoths and Lobos. Volmammoths in these battle sequences are a little nastier because they have access to Blizzard. And they like to do that a lot, and it always does 30 to 40 damage. So 3 blizzards and you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And you're limited on healing items at this point. But if you should die in this sequence, it's not a game over, but your formation will reset and your HP's at 1.
Yikes.
So you might as well be dead.
Essentially. It's fun. What should we call it? Usually you're supposed to raise the roof when you dance. Mog brings it down.
He's stepping too hard. In a fucking cave. So we got Kushu, Kurin, Kuru, and Kamog.
Are they all save points?
No. But they all have access to different weapons.
They all have different weapons. I guess they're showing you what kind of weapons you can wield in these games.
Damn right. Kamog, well, you see I'm putting Kamog in the back row because he has the boomerang.
Right.
And the other fourth Moogle in the slot in the party, other team, also has a long-range weapon, so put them both in the back. Doesn't really matter for Blizzard, though, which ignores Rose.
Yeah, fuck your back row tactics.
I love the boomerang animation.
I do too. It looks fucking nasty.
Like, whee!
It looks like a flying whip. And what, you're not even bothering with Locke?
I'm saving Locke for last because I want Locke to fight the final battle for this sequence.
Because it's the boss enemy?
It's the boss enemy, and because I want to make sure Locke's in good health for when I attempt to steal. Because Locke's a thief in this game, folks.
Right. Stealing, I've had a hard time getting it to work successfully in this game.
It's one of the worst steal rates in this entire franchise, it feels like. Because either I get it on my first try, or the 86th. And that really puts a number on you after a while.
What you call it? I like the 9 mechanics because I was able to figure that out. So you're going to strip the Moogles clean?
Mm-hmm. Well, you can only access Mog's equipment.
Smart play. I mean, what's the Moogle going to do with his spear?
Yeah.
Pole dance?
We're not going to... The Moogle cha-cha.
Oh, God almighty.
Anyway, alright, here's the boss of the sequence. We got 2 Lobos and Marshall. Marshall's pretty much a beefed-up guard.
God damn, he fucking hits you from like crazy from the back row.
Damn right. Now you can... First try! Awesome.
Now watch when can we replicate that in our 9 playthrough when we go for the fairy flute?
Yeah, you can steal the mithril knife from the Marshal. You can equip it real time right now as I'm doing.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
You know what? I really think if Final Fantasy 13 had that idea where you could switch your equipment on the fly, it would probably make for a really more interesting combat because all of the weapons in that game had specific roles and ideologies. So while it was meant to help you customize your character however you want, say you were up against more of a physical weak enemy than a magical one, you could switch to your hard-hitting physical weapons to deal more damage.
Yeah, I agree.
That would have been a great idea.
Now the strategy for this fight...
Beat the shit out of them.
Leave one Lobo alive. Because the moment you kill... The moment you kill both Lobos, Marshall will start using his charge attack. Which is pretty much double the attack of his regular attack. So he's hitting you for like 99 to 100. Ooh. And that's not very nice. When the Lobos are with him, he has access to Net, which pretty much stops your character for about a minute. One time he did that to Locke when I wanted to steal. Ooh. Fucker.
I'll never pick his knife.
So yeah, we got the mithril knife. It's not much stronger than your regular dirk, but it is stronger just, in the first place. So it's worth going after.
It's better than what you got now.
Exactly. Oh, it's good iced tea. Thanks, man.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Oh, we rescued Terra. Unfortunately, she has amnesia.
She has amnesia?
Yeah. Well, a slave crown will do it too.
I guess Locke just had a coughing fit. One thing about the sprite work in this game is like a love-hate kind of thing. Is there are times where you can have the characters have one facial look on them, but because of that, you can come up with two different totally responses. Like if Terra were to look down at the ground, she's either contemplating the weight of her crimes that she did, or she just found a nickel.
All right, so we got one more location to go to before we end this part. But to go back to that, they really upped the sprite size for 6 compared to 5 and 4.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're like the 6 sprites are like double the size of Cecil, Butts, and all the other characters. Yeah, well,
why not Bert's? Let's go for a compromise.
Let's go for a compromise. Bart's. Yeah.
How about Bert's?
Bert's. Yeah, Bert's.
Better not the Butts.
That was well, I can't believe they actually called them that in Japan.
Probably one of the main reasons why we didn't get 5.
It probably has a different meaning.
Butts?
Butts. Yeah, with a Z, it changes the meaning if you add a Z to it.
In the same way that, you know, rollers goes from R to Z. It's gotta be... No, it doesn't mean anything. It just means that you're dumb.
It's just butts with a Z. Yeah, but we're just going into, like, just sprite detail. 6 was pretty phenomenal.
It was.
In 94. It really is. And you know what? I don't think they haven't managed to replicate it. Because I noticed they've been trying to jump back into the Final Fantasy VI sprite formation for a bit now. Mm-hmm. Like, all the bravest. The microtransaction game really tried to sixify all the sprites. And that's fine. It's just that I don't think they ever got it down pat to the SNES quality. I don't know. It just seemed half-hearted, not charming in the slightest. So I gotta go back up. Hey, who might you be? Another
Locke's gonna get that cough like
that.
that.
Really has to. Here, have some halls. I don't know why they're in my pocket, but you clearly need them more than I do.
Oh, terrible.
Alright, folks. We'll see you for part 2 tomorrow.